Okay, so hello everybody to the first claimed community call, and we need to define whether this is then also a superimposed continuation of the Elyra community call, or if it makes more sense if we have those separate. But I think that we either decide today or it will emerge. I just put both titles in, and then I removed Elyra. I'm not 100% sure what's best, but we can discuss. Okay. So maybe I just summarize if someone is completely new, but I don't think so, but I just summarize it in one sentence what those two projects are and their history. And maybe Luciano can then add if I forgot something. Or let's do differently. I summarize claimed, but I let Luciano summarize Elyra because it's actually his baby. You wanna do that, Luciano?
Sure, I'm a little bit sick, but I want to make sure that I made a time here. So
Thank you.
I think Elyra, if you guys are not aware, basically is a lot of like a few uh, Jupyter Lab extensions, kind of like towards making AI tasks a lot easier in the Jupyter environment. I think in terms of popularity, the most really prominent extension is really kind of like the no code, low code visual editor for the pipelines. I think that is if you ask anybody else outside of the development team, probably they will associate Elyra with the pipeline. So yeah, and then pipelines then can be kind of like tested locally and executed in different runtimes such as Airflow and Kubeflow. So that is in a very high level, but it really the goal was to see what were the gaps, particularly on areas of like enterprise AI and what we could do to simplify the day-to-day kind of like a user experience tasks and hide a lot of like the DevOps things from the excuse me, from the data scientists.
Okay, thanks, Luciano. So, and claimed is basically was inspired by Elyra because, as Luciano already said, it allowed you to, let's say, the pipeline it allowed to drag and drop Python scripts, notebooks, and so on to the canvas and create a pipeline, either Kubeflow, Airflow. It's pluggable, no? And that was basically when this idea was born to create a library of those Python scripts or Python notebooks in different categories, like reading data from cores and writing data to a database and doing some model training. And Rafflesia, for example, was contributing a couple of those, we call those components, no? And yeah, and then more and more claim got more focused on the compiler side. So it was not only the code, also without Elyra, it's now possible to convert those scripts into KFP components or Kubernetes jobs and so on. So I would say it's orthogonal, or both projects are complementary, but claimed is apart from a couple of those 45 library components, we put a lot of focus in this source to image compilation part. Okay. Good. So the next thing I wanted to discuss is there anything from this group which you think is missing? Is there something we should particularly focus on one of those projects? Are you stuck somewhere? Are you using it? Do you need additional functionality? Are there any bugs bothering you or preventing you to actually use it in production? I mean, I don't want to have a list. It's more like a feeling. Do you need support and the community to look at something in one of those projects at the moment?
Maybe I should do one step at a time. I'm trying to do multiple steps at one time, but essentially that issue of missing Airflow 2.x support is basically currently something that I'm working on. in a PR pull
Okay, so
request.
you talk about Elyra, I assume, no?
Yeah, Elyra specific.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So
Yeah,
this is something you want to like kind of donate as code to the project? Is that your
right.
intention?
I mean, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's not, other people have forked Elyra, in
Oh,
different.
okay. Didn't know that. Okay.
I've talked with some people who are using this in other contexts and basically did these extensions already, but haven't really put it back into the main branch or the fork basis, basically.
Okay.
But I mean, that's a no-brainer in a way for Elyra to support not just Kubeflow pipeline definitions, but also being able to generate Airflow 2.x definitions, right? The DAG code essentially.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and my issue was I was trying to be all-encompassing, and I was thinking, hey, wait a second, there are no runtime limits being able to specify those in the individual tasks, at least for Airflow, at the general pipeline editor GUI. And my point was, and I talked about this with an Israeli guy who was using it in some defense applications. I said, well, you have to have limits because otherwise, I mean, you've got failure. Okay, fine. The container just starts again, but it's wise to have at least the option to have limits set for certain tasks, right? CPU and memory limits. And currently we don't have that, but maybe I shouldn't go so much for that. Maybe I should just focus on getting Airflow 2.x code generation done, right? And then we get back to the whole limits issue, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
resource constraints
my
are
focus
important.
basically currently.
Okay.
That's yeah.
Good. Okay. Then maybe while you're talking about that, somehow creating code is now done separately in Claimed and Elyra. No, that is something we should have a look at if I cannot merge back the way how Elyra does it. Because now we both create pipelines from some abstract definition. Another thing maybe I just want to mention is we are looking into, let's say, non-UI based pipeline development, which allows for debugging. Because we have the problem, since we're using this Claimed and Kubeflow in production now for some heavy petabyte scale data integration. And what we always notice is that the development lifecycle is really long. Now you change something, we compile it into components, then we update the pipeline, we push a new version of the pipeline, we clone the run. So there is an idea, there is the CWL, the Common Workflow Language, to express workflows. And there is another tool, which I need to double check what the name is. It's from the life science community, but it allows you to execute workflows locally, and you can change a flag, and then the workflows are executed in a single Python process, and then you can attach a debugger now. And I assume this might speed up development time and make it more easy for, let's say, non-cloud native developers to get something running. And the idea is we compile out of the CWL description, we compile KFP code. In our case, KFP patterns.
That sounds kind of like an intersection in set theory, like with Elyra also, because Elyra has that idea of a local runtime instead of
Yeah,
just.
exactly.
So to me,
Yeah.
that sounds familiar. I don't know exactly those software components, right? But the idea behind it sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it was inspired by the local execution engine. Just to be honest, I wanted to introduce Elyra in our case as the first class citizenship, but the support is really low at the moment. No? So I myself can't fix something in the UI, for example. I'm not a React developer, so the risk was too high for me. That's why I just stick to, let's say, Python and Docker, close to Docker and shell script code for now. But you're absolutely right. I think those functions we have in Claimed, they should like be merged, or we should think about how to merge those with Elyra. And it was always on my list also to have the local execution mode of Elyra much more orchestrated and reliable. No, it's at the moment just a sequence of execution step, kind of a script, no, which one guy of the team, Kevin, just hacked together in one night. Very impressive. So we have this functionality at all, no? But I think we can take it from there. But I need to understand a little more about Elyra to actually come into a position where I could implement something in Elyra, no? But maybe you seem to be quite advanced.
Not so much with
so
GUI. Not so much with the
Okay.
GUI. The GUI is kind of foreign territory, terra incognita right now. But
I think that's the problem of the only guy who is fluent in that UI is Alex, I guess. No? Hey, Alex, by the way. Okay, good. Then maybe should we go around, no, so that everyone can say something? Maybe we start with Rafflesia.
Sure. I think just to add it there with the conversation that was going on, like most of the time when we are trying to like do some contribution, it's like we're missing some tutorials. Maybe I think those people who are really familiar with the product, like maybe Claimed or Elyra, just if they can just spend 30 minutes just to go through, because it also like I forgot things, because I remember that when I just talked with Romeo first time, he did give me a brief understanding of how Claimed works, and then I forgot. But if there is some tutorials, maybe then we, every time a new contributor comes in, or even for us, just to wrap up how it works, how it's going to be deployed, what happens after the PR or something. So I think that would be really helpful for both the cases.
Okay. So just one comment on that. For Elyra, I would say at least it was the case that the documentation was very, very precise. We had Patrick in the team who did all that. I'm not sure if you saw that page. And like interesting that you just mentioned that today, because just today I started this GitHub IO page for Claimed.
That's
Obviously,
great.
it's not there yet, but there's a lot of documentation, and also for the compiler now we have a tutorial how to use the compiler to go from a notebook into a KFP component, and how you basically add parallelization. We have a framework which adds parallelization to all the components, so you can have multiple instances of the component running, and there's a means of like do grid computing basically. Okay, thanks. And
Yeah.
Italo, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. That would be great. And I also wanted to add something. Like recently, I have been a part of this inner source program, and there was they were kind of what can I say, categorizing the issues, GitHub issues, into different categories, like good first issue, or maybe a complex issue or something like that. If we can have some GitHub issues enlisted as a good first issue, then like whenever some new contributor is coming on, they can just pick that up and start working on that. I think that would be also great.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I think for Claim there are some. Elyra, I have to double check, but yeah, okay. Good, then Italo?
Hi, yes, this is Italo. I'm a software engineer in the digital health space, and I'm actually now looking into Claimed. My goal is to be able to reuse assets from, I guess, from a science perspective, and be able to create pipelines using those assets, and be able to manage the security and the version of those assets as needed. So right now I'm looking at this from a user perspective, and then customize Claimed as needed. So yes, that's my yes, or yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Alex?
Yeah, I'm just listening in. I'm not active in anything. So
Okay. Good. Perfect.
I'm on other projects now, but I wanted to make sure I'm still up to date.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. I mean, there's one thing, I'm not sure whether you have time, but you can maybe think about it. If you would just explain us how front-end development works for Elyra in one of those sessions in 30 minutes sometime this year. That
I
might be
put
helpful.
I've put a link of some of the YouTube videos. I think Alex and Martha had done a few of this in the like JupyterCon and PyData and others. So feel free to look into those. I've also had a lot of the questions around the first issue or help wanted. So I'm trying to put a lot of the things that you guys are asking into the chat here, so you guys can use that. So
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, those would be a better source than me, because I'm almost a full year out of date, having touched it now, and I definitely don't have the bandwidth to prep anything.
Good. Okay. Then at least thank you for joining the call. Cool. Then Ilda.
Yes, I am with Watson Research in Yorktown, IBM. So I am newbie here, so I'm just listening for a moment, but we are planning to use this framework for our geospatial data work, loading and also accessing.
Perfect. Thank you. Then Harshad.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Just a second.
All good. We hear you.
I guess he cannot hear us.
Yeah, I guess.
Reminds me of that one Verizon, I believe, cell phone company commercial in the States. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hello?
We can hear you.
Awesome. So,
you hear us?
yeah, so I just wanted to give some updates. So, I'm coming from Red Hat. Like, we have a team which is looking into like notebook space, and we try to use Elyra into that. We have tried, like, we are trying to contribute as much as possible to Elyra upstream. We have, like, I'm also trying to encourage my team to get into there and work with some of the stuff which we have found out could be helpful. We are particularly looking towards the Kubeflow pipeline side of things in terms of Elyra. So the next couple of steps for us in this month or the upcoming months would be to look at the Kubeflow pipelines V2. So they have the version 2 API, and we wanted to see if we can integrate that into Elyra so that we can keep using that. That is something which we'll do from our end, try to contribute to the team. That being said, I had another update. What we have done is we have tried to get into the Kubeflow community as well to see what's happening there. Recently, there was this conversation where they were mentioning about Elyra. They are feeling that as they don't see much chatter in the Elyra Slack channel, they are thinking probably this community is not there, and they were thinking like how to support it or not. So we have told, like, at least we have provided them that the community is slowly getting back and we are working on it. Like we'll at least try to get their help with the Kubeflow side of things. So just one update for you all, so that like we are trying to keep them not thinking that we are not there. On Elyra side, we are still working. So that's what we have continued to tell them. They are working on something called Kubeflow 2.0. This is not the version 2 API side of things, but it is just a different Kubeflow, and that's where they're discussing about supporting Elyra or tools like this. So that's something which we'll look into. But yeah, like from our side, we are trying to get into force of contributing upstream. One thing which I could ask is from our side is if we all can get together on the Slack, like, and little bit get active on the Elyra Slack. That will at least boost the confidence of other users who are using Elyra to at least think that, okay, this is active. People are not getting away. So that's what we can check on. So that would be one request from my end. Apart from this, yeah, we have a small team, but we are trying to at least get encouraged and work on upstream. So that's it from my side. Thanks, Romeo, for the time.
Yeah, thank you very much. So you're talking about the Slack channel, Elyra Slack channel?
Yeah.
Okay. Good, then Nina? Nina, you're muted. Okay, while we wait. Well, I have a question. Shall we actually keep those two calls together or separate? Is there any opinion on that from someone?
I wasn't even aware of Claimed, to be honest. I didn't
Okay.
realize that's even out there.
Okay.
So
Yeah, maybe you need to understand claim first that you can make a proper
exactly, yeah.
decision.
Yeah, maybe you can, that documentation that you just mentioned, maybe you can put the link in the chat.
Okay.
I think, Romeo, if we wanted to have things together just to show up more interest of things, it's okay. I just want to make sure that these are two separate projects for now, and that's mostly it. I don't want to. I just don't want to.
Makes
Yeah, that's
sense,
my
yeah.
my only thing.
Okay. I mean, we could dedicate, we can split the meeting in half. But still the folks there have some overlap, no? Hopefully more in future, no?
There is
More-
intersection, yeah.
Yeah, so okay. Okay, let's keep it in one meeting and separate it half and see where overlaps are, and if we find it's too distinct, we can then still decide to split it.
Okay.
Good. Okie dokie. Then yeah, maybe what we can do is we can, for those folks which are not aware of what is, we can actually demo it. So I can do both, or someone from the Elyra folks can also do it. And I can also do it on the claim side, that people are getting a little more connected better, because I think those two projects solve similar problems in different ways, and it would be nice if functionality what we already have in claim could be made available in Elyra as well. Okay, good. Yeah. Anything else from anybody? Okay. Yeah, then thanks for your time, and then maybe see you next week.
Thank you.
Take care. Yeah. Bye.
Yeah.
Sorry. Harshad, you want to say something?
No, just that I'm glad we are coming back together. That's it. So
Okay.
thank you all for.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Take care. All the best. Bye.